If you're a spiritually aware or awake person, meaning that you don't really identify with your ego anymore, you've understood that what you truly are is the awareness behind your ego, meaning any thoughts that you have, any emotions that you might be feeling, is very likely that they are actually coming from the ego and not from your highest self. And you're aware of that. But despite that, I think a lot of us who feel this way, that we're aware, we're still controlled by our ego because it's just been a part of our lives for so long. And if that is the case for you, which I'll assume it is, because I don't think there's many people where it's not the case, at least to some degree, then I have a nice practice for you. And this practice, it's very, very simple, and it's already in the title of the video, so I'm just gonna, say it. It's talking to your ego. And what I mean by that is that you really begin embodying the godlike awareness that you are. And you begin embodying it in a way where you just speak to your ego. When you notice that you have certain thoughts, then you just notice in that moment that it's actually your ego having the thoughts, and you naturally disassociate from your ego through this practice. So just as an example, let's say you have a hateful thought. I think everyone, no matter how good of a person you are, sometimes you just have these hateful thoughts for no reason. They just come out of nowhere. And in those moments, you just notice it, and you tell yourself, or you basically don't tell yourself, you tell your ego, like, settle down, Why are you having those thoughts? And just that, like just this tiny moment where you notice that it's not actually you, but your ego, your conditioned ego. That moment, it gives you awareness, and it disassociates you from identifying with that ego. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. And the less you will actually have these thoughts, right? Because it's like as soon as the ego is found out, it dissolves. That's the beauty about this practice. And what that means is that you don't need to be doing it forever and ever. Like, this is a practice that I think you should just try out and maybe do for a limited amount of time, because it really builds the habit of identifying when you're being controlled and dragged through life by your ego. And it also just, obviously, at the same time, it builds the habit of identifying with that godlike awareness that you truly are. It's a very simple practice, but I honestly have never heard anyone say this. Like, I recently read books on this topic of ego dissolvement, and I didn't, I was surprised that this kind of practice was not mentioned there. And I as I said, I've never heard anyone mention it, despite the fact that it seems like such a simple practice to do. And of course, I think it's a thought that I had about this topic as well, is that it might be interpreted as schizophrenia. Schizophrenia? I don't know how you pronounce it in English. But it might be interpreted like that. But I think that the crucial difference here is that schizophrenia is like having multiple egos. But what's happening here is that you have your one ego, and you, at the same time, you have your godlike awareness that you're identified with, and you just naturally begin seeing things from that perspective, because you've committed yourself to this idea of noticing your ego and talking to your ego. And if you want to go a step further, I mean, you can even do it in the mirror. Obviously, most of the time when I'm saying talk to your ego, it's just in thought, right? It's not spoken out. But I think there's also real power when it comes to doing it in front of the mirror, because then you have this like anchor of your physical body as well, right? In general, this is a bit of a different topic, but in general, just looking at yourself in the mirror without judgment, I think is a very interesting spiritual practice that you should definitely try if you've never done it. You can really learn a lot when you look at yourself in the mirror, and don't try to fix anything. Don't focus on the negatives, the positives, whatever. Just look at yourself and look and see what comes up. And that kind of combines with the talking to your ego, because you can of course do that while looking at your physical body, and that maybe, or that might deepen the experience for you. So yeah, this was a bit of a quicker video. If you haven't joined my community yet, which I guess you haven't because nobody has joined it yet, then I'm just gonna make you aware of it. I have created a community called the Ego Harmony Society. In this video, I didn't really talk about what ego harmony is, but ultimately ego harmony is dissolving the ego, which was basically what this video is about, and then afterwards regrowing your ego in a healthy way and building a harmonious relationship with it as the godlike awareness that you are. So if that is something that sounds interesting to you, you can go to the first link in the description and join the community. Have a blessed day.